Good morning, everyone. It's Alex speaking. Thank you so much for coming for this first quick one-on-one on app building session. It's going to be something different for me and probably for most of you. So you are pretty much like guinea pigs right now. So I hope it works and the content at the end seems to be productive for you. In a while, I'm going to show you the agenda. So meanwhile, if you can start to play with this quick poll that we are showing on the screen. So quick logistic here. It's my first time using GoToWebinar as a webinar provider. So maybe I'm going to miss some buttons here. All of you are on mute right now. And I think something that the tool does automatically. So my suggestion to you is if you have questions, feel free to send them via the questions panel. And as soon as I finish each slide or each part of the presentation, I'm gonna stop, read the questions, answer, and at the end, if we can manage to open the mics, I'll do that for sure. So the idea for this meeting is pretty much spend a few minutes on a small presentation, but consider the audience. We can move faster or slowly. And after that, I'm gonna go to Photoshop and Kwik and do some demos there. And time allowing us, I'm gonna open the mic for questions specific for some projects. I know some of you are already contacting me via email, and that's fine. But if you have some questions, we are gonna try to answer them directly from the tool. I'm recording this session, so my plan is to post it through QuickShare website or our channel on YouTube. So saying that, I think we can start here. I have 14 attendees right now, which is great. So if you can quickly fill out the poll, I'm going to start with the presentation at this moment. And for you two, Thierry and Laurine, that fill out the previous poll, if you didn't fill out this one, please feel free to do so. And with that, let's go to the presentation. I'm going to close the poll right now. And start the presentation. Okay, I'm seeing here that we have 17 people not using Kwik yet, 17%, I'm sorry, and 58% using about a month. So maybe it's interesting to do this quick introduction here. So the agenda that I prepared for today is a little bit longer, but I hope we can manage it in the hour that we have. So basically, especially for the new babies here, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the mobile development process. My idea after that is to talk a little bit about some self-service app publishing options, because Kwik is not the only one. From there, what's Kwik and the requirements, because some people have even bought Kwik without knowing its requirements. And after that, I'm going to show you some things that you can do with Kwik. I'm going to talk about a few apps already made with the tool. And from that, we're going to work on a storybook. But before that, some tips and tricks on how you should correctly plan your app and speed up your process with Kwik. And again, after that, we have a Q&A. Again, feel free to send questions at any time via the questions panel or the chat panel. You have, like me, lots of panels here. So let's go and try to be as quick as possible. Again, if you have questions, feel free to send them. I'm gonna answer them at the end of each slide. And if the things that I'm talking about, you know already, you think it's not necessary to cover, just let me know and we are gonna move on, okay? So let's talk a little bit about the development process. What happens behind the scenes, because this is important, especially for young people or young people doing apps for the first time. So what happens behind the scenes is the first thing that you must have on your computer and is what we call as SDK or software development kit, and this is provided mostly from the operational system provider. We are talking about, in particular case of Kwik, about iOS, which comes from Apple, or Android, which comes from Google. Besides the SDK, you're going to need the full language, and SDK has its own default language. In the case of iOS, is Object-C. In the case of Android, is Java. And when you develop with this language, you have your app running after all in the device or on an Android, Nook, Amazon device. So this is pretty simple, but it's important to understand, because if you miss some one of them, you are not gonna be able to run your application on your device. So again, why I'm bringing this? Because when we start to talk about the development process, although several companies are trying to make it simple, it's not a simple thing to do. So the more device that you decide to have, mean that you're gonna have to work with different OS. And when you start to work with different OS, it means that you have different SDK, different language to learn, and different memberships, because every time that you decide to develop for a platform, you're going to need to become a member of the SDK provider. So again, more device means more complexity, more screens to work, different device that you have to handle. Some device, for example, and I'm going to cover it later on. We have some users, Kwik users, that are building apps for Android device. But when they move to the Nook, for example, the Fortnite's one that Anska already provided the Nook code, they had some issues because the Nook do not have a microphone, for example. So they have to review their applications because although it's the same operational system, it's not the same device. So again, with more complexity, more time to develop, and more expensive to develop this. Okay. In sum, what I'm trying to tell you is this is not for beginners. Although we know the challenges is very big, but the reward is great. There is nothing better. I mean, probably there are, but as an author, to see your app published and to share with your friends the thrill of, send them to your app address and have them using or buying your app. It's a great reward, but just trying to mention that it's not a simple thing it's not something that, you start now and in a few minutes you're going to have everything perfect. So before I move on to the next slide, feel free to provide any feedback. Is it okay to keep talking about this? Is it something that you do not need to know or you already know? I mean, keep providing some feedback on it's good, it's bad, and for sure I can move on to the following topic. Okay, so let's move on. A few tips before we start or before we even select your tool to work with. This is something that I've been learning I've been working with technology since I was 14 and I'm almost 41 now. So something that I learned from the past. The first thing is be very clear on what's your app about. I've been discussing with some Kwik users on some apps, and the thing is most people start to do things and suddenly they think the thing is going to become an app. Try the different approach. Try to have a clear view. Also, try to understand or to see if are you going to be working alone all the time? Are you planning to have more people helping you? And more people means some people work on audio, for example, or video. I mean, try to understand this because, again, the more you know before you start, it's going to be easier for you to select the correct tool to work with. Again, using examples, some people decide to start with Kwik because they are planning to have things that we cannot provide yet. Things, for example, like embedded video. Corona does not allow us to do that. So you start your app, but because you didn't know, right, you didn't do the correct evaluation, you probably are going to be frustrated with the results. The other thing that you have to understand is how much money are you planning to spend in the development. Because again, money is something that we're going to spend. No matter buying tools or buying assets, you have to spend money. How or the question is, are you planning to do market initiatives with your app, or it's something that you're going to put in the App Store or the marketplace and that's it? You must understand this too, because some tools that you are going to pick may allow you to do that, others may not, and I'm going to cover this in the next slide for sure. Is your app going to be free or paid? Are you planning to have a trial or an in-app version? I mean, these are also questions that are going to help you to pick the correct tools. And another question is it going to be just for iOS or multiple platforms? And lastly, you have to do a personal assessment. Are you really tech enough to learn and manage at least how to create your own profiles to distribute your app, or how to get your subscription for the SDK download, for example? And you must understand that some people are not that techy. And if it's not your case, you should to evaluate the correct app publishing tool for you. I have a few questions here. Question for Emily Boone. No, at this moment there is no videos. I mean, you should be watching on your screen a presentation. I hope everybody's watching the presentation, right? Or not? Oops. So let's see. Okay, you didn't miss everything. Can you see slides now? I have some people yes, some people no. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so again, sorry for my dumbness with this tool. It's the first time using that. Now we have the slides. Fortunately, Emily, thanks you brought the question, because yes, we do have slides and some demos to show you. So thanks. Let me clean up here the question area again. So let's move on. Okay, you now know everything about your future app. You know about yourself. So now we need to know which tools you have to pick. And again, there's more options than Kwik. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. There's some options on what we call, I call it list, your app inside another app. So some vendors are providing you tools that allow you to create your app, and your app is going to be under their app. There are some benefits with this approach, and I'm going to tell you about their strengths right now. The first one is they are pretty much using a browser as the main tool, or even an app inside an iPad. And this is great because it doesn't require any technical skill. So you just start the app or go to their website and start to, upload your image and put image on their canvas, and you start to build the app you are planning to promote. Another benefit is there's no upfront costs. You don't have to buy anything. In most cases, you just go to the site, register yourself, and pay nothing and start to use their tools. There's no need for a Mac for publishing. This is something that most Windows users complain about, because even if you have all the tools, Kwik, Photoshop, Corona, you cannot publish for a Mac. For the iOS, if you're on a PC, these tools, because they are doing all the background in their servers, you don't need a Mac. It's another benefit. As I mentioned, there is no need of particular tools. You just use your browser. And another thing that they provide, which is very nice, it's faster to deliver, because the moment that you publish your app, because your app is going to run inside their own app, their app are already approved by Apple and by Google. So it's pretty much it. You hit a button, you say publish it, and your app is visible in their store. These are the good things. If their weaknesses are a little bit understandable. These apps are pretty much for storybooks. You cannot create different things than a storybook in apps like that. They have a revenue sharing model because they are not charging you up front. They are gonna do it the moment that you start to sell your app. Okay, there's no market control at all. You cannot promote your app because your app individually does not exist. Your app is like a book in a shelf on their app. So this is something that you have to think about. That's why one of the questions, are you planning to do marketing? If you want to, this may not be your best bet. There's no brand control. Again, you cannot promote your brand, your company, your own name because you are just another book in their shelves. And also there's no code control. If you decide to go further to put more things in your app, you cannot do. You are limited to their own tools. So if they are providing more tools every time, it's nice, but if not, you cannot do anything. If your app, for example, gets bigger, you cannot go on because the code is not yours. You don't have any code control. And with that, I quickly stop for questions if you have. Otherwise, we are going to move to the other model. Okay, no, let's move on to the next model. The next model, and Kwik is about this model. It's your, again, my name's. It's your full app at the App Store Marketplace. And before I go there, there's a question here. Question from Dave Burns. What are these other platforms? There are several ones. I can provide names at the end of and I'm not doing this because I'm not telling about them. It's just for time constraint here. But there's a few. Lorraine, which is in this conversation, has a great website with pretty much details and links for all of them. At the end, if Lorraine can send it to me here, I'm going to share with you her website and point you there. But there's a few options there. So, okay, I'll do that before we end. So for the model, or the regular model, let's say, which is you own your app, the strengths are pretty clear also. You can build any kind of app. It's not about Starbucks at all. There is no revenue share, although you have to pay the 30% that Apple, Google, all stores collect. It's the way they work to handle your payments and things like that. You have full control of marketing. If you decide to have a companion website or newsletter, whatever you want to do, you can do because, again, you own the marketing and you own the brand. And you own, better than that, you own the code. If you decide, for example, that your small store book now is going to be bigger, you can do that. If you decide to transform your store book, for example, in a journal or in a newspaper or a magazine, you can do that because the code is yours. There are some drawbacks here with this model, of course. The first one, it's as we mentioned in the first slide, it requires specialized tools. Things like Kwik, like you are using right now, or Corona. The initial costs are higher than the previous model because in the previous model, as I mentioned, in most cases, it's pretty much free or you buy just an app on the App Store. It requires approval. You must be a member of every SDK provider, as well as the setup's a little bit more complex because you need to follow guidelines of Apple. You have to create certificates for your apps. I mean, you have to do the background things. Although it's very well documented, there's videos and instructions in every place in the web, but it's much more complex to set up than in an app version. Okay. So with that comes Kwik, and as you noticed, most of you are using Kwik just for about a month. So I think it's nice to remind most of you what's Kwik about. Kwik, again, is a plugin for Photoshop CS5 and above. And we tried, before someone asked, we tried to make it compatible with CS4 and the previous ones. But the fact is, Adobe start to put much more things on their plugin, starting on CS5. meaning that a few features that we use on Kwik are not compatible with previous versions, so we couldn't make it work. So that's why we do not have a version for previous CS. It does require, besides Photoshop, it requires Corona SDK, and this is something that, although we try to make it very clear in our website, some users missed it. Some start to use Kwik and suddenly say, hey, I'm not previewing anything. Oh yes, because you need Corona SDK. Without Corona, Kwik does not work. I mean, it works, you can build your project, but you're not going to be able to preview or to build it for a device. Basically what it does, and we are going to cover it, is you attach commands to Photoshop layers. With that, you hit a button, it's going to create code for Corona, which compiles it for iOS and or Android. And this is as simple like that. Okay, Corona. What's Corona and why we need it? Corona is generates code for iOS and Android. The beauty of Corona in some other platform is you just write once and it's going to publish in multiple platforms in the background. You don't need to learn two different languages, as we mentioned before. They are just using Lua, which is an English-like language. Very fast, very well used language. Things like Angry Birds, for example, use Lua. And Corona is also behind thousands of apps right now, not only at App Store, but Android, Amazon, and Nook. So it's nice, and you may say, okay, if it's English-like, why do I need Kwik, or can I just write by myself? Yes, you can, of course, but it's not a trivial thing if for a non-expert use. And when I share the presentation with you, you're going to be able to click this link here, and you're going to see the difference on doing by yourself. So basically, the requirements for Kwik is, you need Photoshop, you need Kwik, and this is the price. You're going to need Corona SDK, and Corona has two different models. The first one is you can buy just per platform. If you decide to go just with Android or iOS, it's $199 each per year. If you decide to have both platforms together, it's $349 per year. And you still need the SDKs installed in your machine and their membership if you decide to publish for selling. And for the iOS, it's $99. For Android, it's $25. Amazon and Barnes & Noble, I believe they are waiving the fee for the first year. But these are the two big ones. And with that, you can, create apps for iDevices or Android device. So let's move on. What you can do with Kwik, and this is an interesting story. When we decided to create Kwik last year, our idea was pretty much to work with comics, and now you know about Kwik. Kwik has been used to create not only storybooks and comics, but as well as travel books, educational apps, healthy, or with nurturing harmony, lifestyle, magazines. I mean, I just handled a few screenshots here. This one is Butterfly Counting, which is a storybook. This is Opening Rome, a travel book. You have Zufabats, which is also an educational one. You have Nurturing Harmony. It's according the author in a relaxation app. You have a magazine just coming, Triple Crown. I mean, lots of things are being done with Kwik that, honestly, I never imagined when I decided to go this way. So, again, you cannot create just storybooks. You can do pretty much what your imagination allows you to do or wants you to do. Okay, so before we start, and I think this is important to, based on my own experience with Kwik and some other user experience. First thing that you should do before you just start to jump into the tool, there's some tricks there. Some tricks because the tool requires some tricks because Photoshop requires some tricks. So the first thing that I suggest you to do is have everything installed. Check the FAQ page and see exactly what you need to install. It's not just about Kwik and Photoshop. You're going to need to have, as I mentioned, the Corona SDK. If you are, I'm planning to do it, the iOS version, we need to install the SDK. I mean, Get familiarized with the needs. Also, I know it's a 5th page and it's your fault. Of course, I'm just joking. There we have a user guide. Most users asked us to write one. I know it's not the best one yet, but there's lots of good information in the user guide. It's available on the learning page. See the tutorials videos. We have lots of tutorials. Some of them you may say, it's from the previous version. It's the 1.5 changed the interface. It's different. It's different the interface, but at the end the content is the same. If you learn how to do, for example, a spreadsheet animation, it's gonna be the same in 1.5. Try to follow us at Facebook or Twitter, not only because we love fans and followers, but because we pretty much update everything from there. The moment that we do anything new, you're going to be the first one to learn about. And another thing that most people forget to do, try the features that you want to use in your final project in disposable projects. You start to play with squares and circles, and then when you are familiarized, you go to the real one. Again and again and again, try to get familiar with the tool. So, move on. I believe this is one of the last slides, so it's getting there. Planning your app. First thing to avoid to do is to design on the fly. What does it mean? Because there are so many particularities with Photoshop, and Kwik needs Photoshop to build. I'm pretty much talking about layer names and things like that. Try to avoid design on the fly, meaning that some people opens a new project and start to put things, renaming things, create things, deleting things, and at the end, the app is not compiling or exporting anymore. What happened? We are trying to put more and more tools for check compatibilities and check names, but the thing is, if you mess up with layer names and create, for example, an action for a layer that does not exist anymore, and call this action from a button, I mean, you just mess up the flow. So again, try to avoid to design on the fly. One thing that I use a lot, and I'm going to show you a few slides next, is try to thumbnail every page and their components. Try to, just a small draw and say, okay, this page is going to have this and this animation, this audio, and with that, start to build. Another thing that I think it's useful is to sketch the flow of your application. Try to see, okay, page 1, what happens with this page if the user clicks the button, or if he swipes the page. Are them gonna go to page 2 or to the menu page, which is the last one in your project? I mean, try to understand the flow. Prepare external files first. In the movie industry, nothing happens before the audio is done. Try to do the same here. Have your audio files, videos, spreadsheets, movie clips done before. Otherwise, you're going to have to spend more time into replacing layers with different names, different files, and you may mess up all the components that you have. Another quick suggestion here. I've been creating some functions to renaming files, but whenever it's possible, avoid names with spaces, with characters, because you may lost control of this. Also, create your Photoshop files if you need to. And the main thing here that you must understand is, for Kwik, every Photoshop file is a different page. So I've been receiving several requests of, I want to have a sound or background audio running in my entire project. This is not possible with Kwik's model and even Corona's model, because in Kwik and Corona, each page is a different page. So you cannot have the same audio playing all around your project, because they are different elements. And a quick example here. Let's say we are going to build a very simple storybook, and there's a cover, there's 2 pages, or 3 pages, or 5 pages, 50 pages, and there's also a menu. So the way I suggest you to do, again, thumbnail everything, and try to put some quick information. Okay, the cover is going to have like a show, it's going to show an intro animation, it's going to have a button called Read to Me, another one called I Read. Page 1 is just going to have some images playing around. I mean, try to visualize your app first before you go to Photoshop. And whenever it's possible, try to have a worksheet on each page. So for example, this page, okay, the interaction, I'm gonna enable or not a page swipe. Is bookmark enabled or not? The animations are gonna be, are they linear path, which is a new one, sprite? I mean, try to visualize and put everything, the audio. Do we have rhythm audio? Do you have background effects? The more detail you have this worksheet, faster it's going to be to build your app. Saying that, let me move on to a quick project demo here. And what I try to do, and let me know if you're seeing my Photoshop screen, please. Okay, got a few yeses here. In the beginning, I thought about making a very beautiful thing here and make people excited with the graph. But at the end, I said, no, let's use a few backgrounds that they are know already, because this is not going to be a confusion or a distraction to them. So let's focus on the things that are important. I select a few topics that have been receiving requests and questions via the forums or via email. So I think it's nice to cover them again. So I hope you like it. The first one is, as you can see, I do not have any projects open yet. And if you are new to Kwik, the way you get this window here is coming to Window, Extension, and Enable Kwik. Okay? Okay, so there is no project yet. I just have this Photoshop file here. So what happens if I decide to create a new project right now? And I can click here and I can name, tell it's a book. I select a device, and the first thing that I'd like to share it with you. For some people, it's all about Universal project. If you are one of these people that loves Universal, try to understand the benefits and the issues with Universal. Universal are perfect for iPad and iPhone projects. It handles everything, both screen size, which is great. But if you decide to pick Universal, it means also that it's gonna export twice of the image. And if you, at the end, you are just planning something for the iPad, for example, makes no sense at all to create a Universal one. Try to understand again, more device, more complexities. And when you create a Universal, you have to understand that you are creating images for big iPad screen size. And what Kwik and Photoshop will do at the end is pretty much to resize the image on the fly. So some people say, you know, when I see the same text that I have on the iPhone, it looks a little bit blurred or different. Yes, because it's being reduced on the fly. There is no way to control details when you are reducing the file. So again, try to understand more device, more complexity. Is it worth? You tell. But the thing is, when you pick a device here, Kwik will automatically set the page on the correct resolution and size of device, which is great, but I'm going to cancel it and you're going to understand why. If you have a situation like this one here, where you have this background is a huge one. I'm going to move it just to let you see. As you can see here, it's a big one. So if you simply click and say new, using this document here, what Kwik will do is it's gonna cut the image pretty much here. So my suggestion to you is, do not do this. If you need this file with the background, everything, and you decide to create a new project, I'm gonna just do it quickly here. Say I'm gonna call it trash. Do not accept the cover as the first page. Create it. So it's going to create a blank one. And now you go back here to the cover and say, okay, I'm going to use this as a new page. And now I'm going to accept the cover as the first one. When you do that, let me click here. Now you see that you have your background. So easily you can come here and delete page one. And now your project is just the page. Okay, so this is the way to pretty much have your big files accepted into Kwik without having them cut during the creation of the project. So if you have any question on this, please send it. And I hope I made it clear right now. Okay. So meanwhile, let me open a project that I pre-made for this session. So just to give us a little bit more time to discuss about. Okay, no questions on the resizing. Great. So this project here has pretty much two pages. The first one is this one, and I'm going to cover it in a while. And the second one is the second one that we are going to cover later on. So let's start with the cover. I didn't put any fancy thing here. I'm not going to have even animation. Two things that I'd like to show you that are interesting. And again, it's based on some apps that I have seen made with Kwik and even installed in my iPad. Things that could be even better if you are one of the authors. So before that, I have a few questions. Okay, I have a suggestion here from Lorene to create a step-by-step on that, on the large image process. Fair enough. Okay. Until he said, nice to know. Great. Microphone access. Yes, there's a new one here from Dave. That microphone access. Wow, I didn't even notice on 1.6. That's why I mentioned. Thanks for bringing that, Dave. The importance of keep posted on the YouTube. All these big new features have videos and are detailed on the user guide. Thanks for being. So this page here, two things that you need to understand. We just finished a poll on what should come next with Kwik, and I was surprised to see people suggesting things that are already in the tool for a while. The first thing is about shared assets. Some people say, oh, it would be nice to have shared assets because, my project is getting bigger, and for each page, Kwik exports the same elements, even if they are the same for all pages. You can do that, okay? So how to do that? Let's say you have the same background in the other page, and it's the case. You don't need to export two different backgrounds. Just click the layer that you want to be a shared asset. Come here to the toolbox. And there's a button here called Shared Asset. Just click it. Done. Let's do the same for the witch here. Again, toolbox, Shared Asset, done. Just it. Nothing else. Okay? So how I make it the same in the other page? Pretty much the same. If you have the same backgrounds, just select the background. I did it previously. And click Shared Asset. Because the name are going to be the same and the name starts with KWK, Kwik handles the thing for you. So this is the first thing that you should understand. Let's say you have, arrows point like swiping page buttons. You can set them as shared asset. You have, let's say, home button. You can share it as a shared asset. Like a character like this witch here, a background as we just did, you can do that. Just select the layer and click the Shared Asset button. Another thing that some people confuse a little bit. Let's say you have this button here, the button read. So let's come here to the elements view. I pre-created the button. So let's see the button and see what it does. And if you are new to Kwik, the way you create a button is pretty simple. You select the layer, okay, and come here to the interaction view. Oops, let me close here. You come here to the interaction view and select Add Button. If you have created already, just double click and you're gonna see the button window. So here what I did was pretty much to add this ready to me function. And you may be confused, and again, that's why we have the user guide. You may be confused on the play read me audio or read to me. They are different features and the second one I'm gonna cover in the next page. But for this first one, what you want to do in this page is allow the children or your reader just to click a button, and the moment they click the button, it goes to the next page and start to read automatically the content of the page for the reader. This is what this read it to me button is about. So there are no parameters, anything. You just come here, click this button, it adds the action, and that's it, create. Okay? So let's preview this project here. And while it's generating the coding, let me quickly cover this area here. This area here again, very well mentioned on videos and the user guide. It quickly allows you to change settings. You can click here, open the settings window, and start to play with different things. But you can quickly do it directly from here. If you want to export image, for example, just enable this here or disable. If you decide to export just the current page, you can do that. So another quick thing. So let's see in Corona what it does. So let me open this project here. Okay, I'm in the webinar. It's an iPad. So open. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear that, but I click the read to me button.
Once upon a time,
it moves to the next page and read the text for me. And now we are going to learn how to add the audio in the next page, but as simple as that. Click, read, move to the next page, and read. Okay. So questions on this first button? Feel free to go there. Second page. This page has lots of things happening, and I'm gonna try to cover all of them step by step again. So in the first page, you had a read to me button. So the first thing you should do when you come to this page is to add the audio that are gonna be played. Okay, I did it again. You could come here to the page one and say add audio. Because I have this audio here. It's called once MP3. And this is the way you configure that. You point to the audio file and you select this option here. This is the page readme audio file. The moment that you set this, Kwik will understand that if you have the read to me enabled, it's going to read this for you every time that you arrive in this page. You may say how many times. For this particular case, I believe just once is enough. And that's it. Doing just this, when you click export, you're going to have the same effect that we did a few seconds ago. But, and this is a tip from some authors who have already published some apps. And if they are in the call, it's just a suggestion for your future ones or for the updates. Some of them are not using the benefits of the play read to me button. Or they are creating a different button just saying read it to me in each page. You don't need to do that. The best thing to do, at least in my opinion, is select the text layer that you have. In this case here, once upon a time. I named it to main text because Photoshop used to add as name the full text. It's not a good thing. And instead of creating another button, simply select this and add a button. In my case here, what I did was, let me open. What I did in this button, and again, this is just a text layer, I add the play read button. Play read me audio. What it does is pretty much it understands that the page has an audio, and it attaches the audio to this text. So with that, every time we are back in our here, let's say you come in here,
in a galaxy far, far away,
and you decide to come in here without the read to me. How to make this page readable? Just click the text.
Once upon a time. In a galaxy far,
Much
far away.
Better than to create another button or things like that. So we have a few questions here. Let me answer them and we are going to move on to. Okay, is it possible to toggle read to me off while reading? No, it's not, because toggle requires another button. What we could do, and I have to check if it's gonna work or not because it wasn't originally created for that, is to add a mute unmute button in every page. And when you mute, you're gonna be muted. So, but your background audios and effects are gonna be missed. So let me see. Okay, no more. So let's move on. Another thing that I think it's important to share here is about path animation. We just create path animation in this current build, and again, for my surprise, in the survey that we just made, some people put there as suggestions for future versions. Path animation would be great. It's in there. There's lots of videos on that, but let me show quickly how to do that. First thing you have to do is to create a path. You come to the path, let's say window here, and let's say I'm gonna have a new one, path 4. You select the path, and you pretty much, draw your path. The thing that's interesting to understand is try to draw your path according to the direction that your character needs to follow. In this case, I draw from left to the right. So it would be nice to attach your layer pointing to left to right. Otherwise, it's going to move backwards and vice versa. So, okay, I just create the path here. When I decide to create a new path, a new animation, I come here and select, the element, in my case, the witch. And I can come here in the animation and say, okay, this is a path animation. And I'm going to say P4. And I have to go faster here. And select the path that you just created. I'm not going to complete it because I have it done. I created 3 different animations, as you can see here. Path 1, Path 2, and Path 3. And because I need to do something different, I also create one action point to each one of the animation, and you're gonna understand why in a few moments. So pretty much I create the animation and I say I need to have an action, and an action is pretty much a pre-done list of commands that are gonna be started via a button or a timer. So it's something that exists, but if you never call it, it's never gonna be running. So why I did that? Because one thing that I've been seeing people is asking a lot for, we need to put more activity stuff into Kwik, because some storybooks, children like to do things. So one thing that we created a few versions ago was the record and play button. And what I did was to create this shape here, and you're gonna understand why. You have this button here, and the activity here is gonna ask the children or the user to click the button and say a spell. And no matter the spell, every time that someone says a spell, the witch is gonna travel a different path. So it's just, again, a fun activity that everybody can do. So what I did was select shape 1, create a button, and in this button I pretty much did 2 actions. The first one was to say record and play audio, and when you do that, it opens these small windows, the window asking you what's going to be the duration of the recording. In this case, 3 seconds. Let's put just 1 second just for sake of the presentation. And the other thing that I did was, okay, after recording the audio, shuffle one animation. And that's why I create 3 different actions, 1 for each animation. And I say, okay, I have 3 different animations, play it randomly. So every time it runs, it's gonna start something different. Simple thing to do, but a nice way to handle an activity. So with that, let me show you the final code. When you click spell, screen hidden a little bit, you talk, and here you go. You can do again. Hello, hello. Abracadabra.
Hello, hello.
Another time, another time. Hocus pocus.
Another time, another time. Oh.
You see a simple way to do some activities. Question on that, and I'm gonna go to my last favorite topic, which is related to spreadsheets. Okay, let's go to the spreadsheets here. How does it work? This is pretty much the thing that comes every time to me. And before I go there, there's a question here, I believe. Okay, so it's just Tia saying that it's cool. Yeah, I like this feature too. Let me see. Is it possible to output the audio after, say, for example, to evaluate reading of a shot? In fact, the audio automatically is output. The moment that you finish the recording, it plays what was recorded for you. I think it's the question. Let me see here. Please, can you also do? Yes, you can do. I don't know if you're gonna have time for do the example with movie clips, but it's the same example as spreadsheets. You're gonna learning right now. Okay, save it. All right. So, how the thing works? Spreadsheets. Again, it's the most common topic. You can do spreadsheets in your projects or movie clips, the same process in different ways. I'm going to show you two different ones. The first one is used for all the case. The concept is the layer that you are selecting for a spreadsheet is always a placeholder. So being a placeholder, you can just draw a very simple placeholder. Let me show you here. Let's say we're going to have a cat running on top of this buildings here. The first thing you can do is simply draw a rectangle and say, okay, this is my placeholder. I'm not take care of any dimensions here. I'm just saying, okay, I have shape 1. I have to rename it. I'm gonna call it cat because I have shape 1 already here. So with the cat selected, I come here in animation and say, okay, spreadsheet replacement or move clip replacement. I have it here. I'm gonna point to a file. I have this running cat here, and I know this is 512.256, 8 frames, and I'm gonna, okay, loop it forever, create. Okay, just did that. Let me preview this project again. You may say, why, Alex, aren't you using the export image? Because being a placeholder, Kwik does not export the layer. So you don't need to re-export again because the placeholder is not going to be there. So
once upon a time in a galaxy far, far away.
This is the issue. Because you may say, hey, Alex, why the cat is not exactly on top of the building? Because again, the dimensions, not the dimension. The dimension comes from yours, the spreadsheet window. But the first position comes from your placeholder. So your placeholder, although it's positioned correctly, it's not the same size of the frame on your spreadsheet or move clip. So what happens is it moves. And that's why many people send me an email and say, hey, my character is not positioned correctly. So how to position it correctly? Okay, let's go back. And again, using the placeholder example here, I'm going to select the cat. And you can see here, this is the info. I'm going to resize this exactly the same size of the cat. So which is 512 by oops, 512, 512, 256. Oops. Okay. Now I'm going to export again. And now I'm going to export just this page. Another quick setting stuff. Just click a button and only this page is going to be exported. Okay. So again,
once upon a time in a galaxy far,
now
far
you
away.
see in the correct position. Another thing that people does, and let me go pretty fast here. Let me delete this cat here, and I'm gonna add place. You may say, okay, let's do the second example. I'm gonna cut the one of the frames of my spreadsheet and add it here. Okay, so when I'm gonna resize this for 512, you know the story. 512. Come on, we are running against time. Okay, and let's do the same. And you may say, okay, I just cut and I'm building it again. Just call it cat to keep the same naming. Okay, so
Once
again,
upon a time in a
you may
galaxy
say,
far,
oh wow,
far away.
what happens here, Alex? I cut my frame correctly, precisely. Why it's not running the correct position? Because when you cut your frame, it's a PNG. What happens here, all the white space, the transparent one, was cutted together. So that's why it's not in the correct position. So if you want to have a placeholder exactly with the final image, what you should do is, let's delete it. You must do a trick like I'm doing here. Let me place the cat1 image. And it's hard to see, but in every corner, I have a 1 pix. Let me resize this. 512 to, okay, it's pretty much, it's close. I'm gonna put in the top of the building. Can you see that? Let me, here, there, here, and here. I just add a 1 pixel in each corner. So this way I guarantee that even with the white space, the transparent space, it's gonna be kept as 512, 256. And with that, we are gonna see that it's gonna render correctly. Here we go again.
Once upon a time in a galaxy far, far
I know
away.
where I remember about naming. I have to name it cat. It's coming, sorry about that. All right.
Once upon a time
Here you
in a
go.
galaxy far, far away.
Running the correct position. So I know we are pretty much, according to my watches, we have 4 minutes more. I have a few minutes more if you want to, but I do understand if you need to leave. But this is the correct process to do a spreadsheet. Try to have the placeholder with the same size, no matter if it's just a blank placeholder or a frame from you. So let me see if you have, what I meant was, can the audio recording be saved? No, the audio recorded, it's not saved. If you do think this is gonna be a nice addition, just suggest is a future feature, or it will be disposed. Yes, it's disposed at the moment that it finished to play. Is there a possible workaround by manually code? Yes, you can manually code. You can add your code. Just remember that every time that you re-export, your code is gone. So if you do so, rename the new page with your final code. I have here another one from Joseph. Can you show all the frames of the original? Oh, of course. I'm even using the same running cat spreadsheet file that comes with one of the Corona samples. If you go to Corona samples, that's why I decided to use the cat. So here you have pretty much 8 frames. And as I mentioned in one of the videos in our YouTube channel, you also have the opportunity to create your own spreadsheets using the file, scripts, spreadsheet exporter. It's a export that we add to get it quick, so you can do that. Just take a look in the website on the video on how to learn to use this. But this is the way. Before you ask, can you use spreadsheets with different frame size? No, you cannot. You must have spreadsheet files with same size frames. And this is also mentioned in the user guide. So another one, we have done this with move clips, but when testing, they always stick on frame 1. Yes, why they stick in frame 1? Let's go back to the project here. And this is the trick that you have to do here. Let's say you have this cat here again, and now you're gonna add. I'm pretty sure that they are sticking in frame 1 because pause at frame 1 is enabled. If you disable that, and this is a new option in Kwik 1.6, it does not pause. Okay. Or would you? What's better, move clips or sprite animation? It depends. As you may know, there's a limitation on the file size for iOS projects. It's 2048 by 2048. So if you have a super large, like I just saw a few days ago from a project for a customer, his spreadsheet was, I believe, 3000 pixel by 3000. No way to do that. You have to compensate or create different spreadsheets. But if you have most of the image with the same background or same image running, maybe a movie clips is a better one. The thing that you have to understand is the spreadsheet is just one file. Movie clips are lots of files. So lots of files meaning lots of times to load it. So, but at the end depends on what animation you are planning to do. And sometimes spreadsheets better, sometimes move clips better. Corona question, do you know if there will be other interactions possible in the future, double taps? I mean, it's not Corona questions. In fact, it's Kwik question. Plans, we have a long list of things to add in possible future, and double taps, slide, pinch. Slide you have already. The swipe thing is some kind of slide. Yes, we are planning to add them in the near future. But again, we have to understand that our main audience, our targets right now are storybook authors. We do understand there are lots of people doing different things, but the more the feature is related to storybook, better. But yes, we have a long list and they are included in there. We didn't have that option. David, if your move clips is start and stop, probably you define it as a. Let me show you again here. Probably you enable this option here. Oops, not here. When you select the animation, probably you tell the animation to wait request, and all wait request animations start with them pause. Okay, that's why. Another one. If the cat is already part of the image and you make a spreadsheet of it, do you copy with the mask? You check on the panel with this. If the cat's already part of the image and you make a spreadsheet out of it, do you copy it on mask or check? No, you don't need to copy anything. Again, the spreadsheet is always outside your project. It's an external file. All you have to do is to select the placeholder layer and point the spreadsheet using the spreadsheet replacement tool. It's not into your Photoshop file. Can Corona do this? Yes, Corona can do it. Kwik does not at this time, but it's also something that we are planning to add in future versions. Again, it must be related to something. Otherwise, just add multitask means nothing if you do not have any other feature using the benefits of a multitask. or a multi-touch. Sorry. Will there in the future a possibility to set the initial size of a spreadsheet in the animation panel? I mean, we thought this in the beginning, but because and this is something that is in our future list. But at this moment, we think the best thing to do as a user is to use the drag and drop. So imagine you add something in a layer and you decide to move the position. The way it works today, you simply move it, and no matter what, when you export again, Kwik does the work for you. If you need to, for all elements or spreadsheet elements, for example, to add the initial position, every time you decide to move something, you're going to have to go back there, open the window, and re-enter all the initial position. So it's some kind of thing that we are still thinking, is it worth or not? Some people think are, most people think it's not. It's just better to move on. But it's something that is in our list. And if you do think that's something that you should put sooner, just drop me a line. Should spreadsheet be powers of 2 dimensions? Not necessarily. You just need to understand that the maximum size is 2048 by 2048. The way the script, that my script works today, it's going to 124, and probably I'm going to recode this to add it to 248 to 248. So again, it depends. Could I manually code? Yes, you can code. One more question. We are working as a team of 2 people. Would you advise to approach the workflow? How would, if you are working simultaneously, it's a little bit more complicated. Probably what you could do is to have one of your people working, let's say, pages 5, 6, and 7, and the other one works in page 1, 2, 3, 4. And after that, you can manually, there is no tool right now to cross projects, but you could manually add the KWK file from one project and copy just the page data to the other file. It's a more complicated one. In general, what people does is we have someone work in the Photoshop files and the other one work on the interactions with Kwik. What's the maximum file size for all access in a project? There is no maximum size, but you have to understand that if you have a huge image, more than 248 by 248, it's not going to render when it's running the device, and it's mostly doing memory issues. You have to understand that although the simulator works fine, when you go to the small device, the processor is not good enough and the resolution is not powerful enough. So try to keep the things always not larger than 2048 by 2048. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Keep sending your suggestions, questions, and I hope to see you soon. And again, I'm gonna send you an email right after with the link for the presentation and the link for the other tools as you requested. Thank you very much.